Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Charlsie Baldwin. I am the co-founder here at Twin Legacy Solutions. This is our podcast, The Future Proof Leader. Thanks again for joining us. As you know, if you've listened in before, we bring on different business owners, C-suite folks, decision makers throughout various industries, and we just talk business. We'd like to lean into leadership and AI topics. And today we have another awesome guest speaker. We have Kevin Weber. He is the principal. He does it all, right? And we're going to dive into it, but he's the principal of Polyfortech. And I really appreciate you joining today. I'm excited about this call. I think it's good to just like get down to the grassroots of what is it like to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, just real talk, because I think a lot of people can relate to it. And it just kind of helps us sanity check those of us out there to make sure, we're not alone in the journey and in the struggle. Kevin, thanks for joining today. Before we just kind of kick it off, again, real super casual conversation today. Just kind of tell us about yourself. What's your background? Tell us about your business.
Well, I live in the, just right outside of St. Louis, Missouri. I have a background in computer science. I joined kind of the consulting world back in 2015. So I've got about 11 years in consulting experience. I've been working in my current specialty, which is Amazon Web Services, for about 10 years now. I used to, I kind of fell into entrepreneurship kind of serendipitously. I had always thought about maybe freelancing, but the fact that I was a consultant with other consulting firms kind of made that like, oh, am I, well, bumping up against a non-compete?
Right, right.
But, I had this LLC out there for a while to like, maybe I'll have like some great product idea and then I can register it with my firm as a pre-existing IP so I can develop it in my free time without them trying to take ownership of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that never really came along. At some point, I got a job at Amazon Web Services in the ProServe organization, which is the consulting arm. And then about a year and a quarter later, I was laid off in what at the time was the greatest reduction in force in the history of the company. I think it was 18,000 people.
Yikes.
And so I started job searching. Luckily, they had this great program where they hooked you up with a career coach to figure out where you might want to go next. They gave me, I think it was 60 or 90 days of pay to kind of like get paid
Yeah.
to job search.
Right.
And I was in the middle of salary negotiations with a potential employer, and that kind of broke down. And then they said, "How about a 1099?" And I said, "Well, I've got this LLC, sure." And thus, my company was born.
Love it.
And so far, they were my first client, my biggest client, and I actually just started back with them at the beginning of this month.
Congrats.
You're taking about a year, kind of a year off with them. So far, I've had maybe 5 or 6 clients over the last almost 3 years. I'm keeping the lights on. With any newer business and single person business, growth is a struggle, but making it happen.
Yeah. That's awesome they came back. I mean, I feel like that's a testament to your performance, right? Like they don't come back and they don't stay if there's not a good reason. So that's awesome. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
And I feel like a lot of us a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to have a similar story where some choose the path and some it's like not what you were thinking your path was going to be, but then life happens and the opportunity is there and you take the risk and go for it. But what do you feel like has been the most challenging part of being a solopreneur?
I mean, apart from the growth and like you're doing everything.
Yeah.
I actually hired it out, but somebody handles my payroll, my bookkeeping, all that. That's my biggest piece of advice is if it doesn't immediately contribute to your bottom line, if you can hire it out. But I'd say the biggest challenge is I personally feel like your definition of work-life balance changes big time.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when you're in corporate world, you go to work, you do your 9 to 5, maybe you have to if you're in sales, you have to take calls at odd hours. Or maybe if you're, on call, you have to jump on and save a system in the middle of the night if something were to go bump.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's kind of like, oh, I can go to my kid's recital at 10 a.m.
Right.
But then I also might have to take a call at 8 p.m. because that's when the person I'm trying to connect with can meet. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of like the balance is still there, but now everything's just all the more blended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to that. And that was part of, my journey as well. Very similar where I was in corporate life. Prior to that, I was in the Marine Corps for about a decade. And then I set, the big Fortune 500 type companies. and grinding, right? Like if you're working those kind of corporate roles like Amazon and the
Mhm.
Teslas of the world, then you're going to be working some hours. And it's so hard to get to those 10 a.m. recitals and to be able to do those things. So that is definitely nice to be able to own your time and to own your time. That's huge. Comes at a cost in other ways, but it's definitely one of the most rewarding parts of being an entrepreneur in my mind is kind of taking back that control of owning your life and being like you mentioned, that work life balance is that's tough. A lot of people think that the way to success is just working 18-hour days, and that's tough. That's not sustainable, definitely. I mean, what do you find fun about it? What's enjoyable? Why do you keep doing it?
Well, it's the immense freedom for
Yeah.
one, like I mentioned, um, I don't know of a single person with my experience in the industry that was able to take 7 or 8 weeks off in the last
Yeah.
calendar year. It's
That's
it's
nice.
nice that I get to kind of hopefully, I mean, at the beginning, I kinda had to just take whatever work I could get, but luckily, all my clients have been great, and, you kinda feel that out in the sales process of, like, I'm only doing the work that I actually
Mhm.
want to do.
That's nice. That is nice, and that's also a luxury not all new business owners have.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I like to read books, and let's just always learning, right? And that's one of the common mistakes I've learned about, and I hear about just on this podcast, even with some
Mhm.
of our guests, is allowing yourself to just say yes to too many things that are not actually helping you go in the direction you want to because you
Oh,
feel desperate.
absolutely.
You feel like you have to say yes, but in reality, saying yes and making that money now could be stopping you from getting that even bigger client or
Mhm.
seeing things in a different way. So it's nice that you are at that point that you can say no to things if it's not the right fit for you. That's hard to do.
Well, I mean, I'm experiencing that in a different way with lead generation. So, like, it's very much a shotgun approach. LinkedIn,
Yeah.
email, I've got a third party working on a security go to market. I got people pinging me like all day, every day of, oh, you should, hire me as your business coach because of XYZ. And
Yeah.
uh, it's just kind of, like I said, a shotgun approach in that regard.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise out there too. So, I mean, that's a good topic in itself of like how do you differentiate as there's so much competition for all of us, right? Like it's kind of harsh to say it this way, but nobody's unique anymore, right? Like we
Mhm.
all do something somewhat similar. I think it personally comes down to relationships, right?
Mhm.
Of
Absolutely.
finding the people that you want to work with and then trusting, okay, I'm going to trust you with my business. I'm going to outsource this to you, or I'm going to hire you as my marketing team or my sales team, whatever. And you just have to hope that the relationship is there because there's so many competitors these days, and automation's making that an interesting, landmine to navigate around. How have you leveraged automation in your business to kind of keep up with your competitors?
Well, so maybe a little differently than I think how you might, because I believe you run a marketing.
Part of it, yeah. So we do. I mean, I won't dive too much into it on this, but yes, that's what we do. We help our clients with. I mean, you mentioned lead generation. That's a big part of what we do, but that's not everything. But go ahead. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I mean everybody's into these AI tools, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of lukewarm on them. I tend to when I use them, uh, the way you see folks saying, "Oh, I coded up this app in 30 minutes," kind of thing. I end up I spend 20 minutes or 20% of my time generating the code and 80% of my time debugging the code. So what I'd rather do is spend 80% of my time writing the code and then using AI to debug.
yeah,
And so I use actually Gemini pretty extensively because I bought into Google Workspace to handle all my documents and email and
right.
all that. So it came with it. So and I've been pretty happy with it so far. Another is that like as a IT person, as a coder, over the years I've just amassed a personal library of different projects and stuff. So it's very easy for me to come on to a client and go, oh, I need a VPC here. Let me grab this from over here. Oh, I need a template for an EC2 instance. Oh, let me grab that from over there
I like it.
and
That's
just get stuff spin up really, really quick.
Yeah, that's nice. That sounds scalable, right?
Mhm.
That's the goal. I guess I guess that's my goal. I'm not. What is your goal? Are you trying to scale your business this year? What are you doing?
This year, yeah, it would be nice. I have a personal goal. Let's say the overall goal for my company to use an Amazonian term is I never want this company to grow over a two pizza team,
You
which is
told me that. I remember you saying that before. I love
which
that.
is a team that can be fed with two extra large pizzas, or maybe five individuals at most.
Yeah.
But my goal kind of in the more short term is I want to get to the point where I've actually placed at least one other person somewhere at a client.
Gotcha. Cool. I do love, did you come up with that on your own? I've never heard that before.
No, that's actually very much a like a Jeff Bezos
Is
thing.
it? Okay. I love that. My husband used to work at Amazon. I've never heard, I'm going to have to ask him if he ever heard that. Yeah, I've never heard him say that. Awesome. I mean, you were hitting on it before too, of like outsourcing the tasks that either you don't like doing or that are not like in your wheelhouse. I'm a huge fan of that. Have you read the book 10 times is what are 10x is easier than 2x? Have you heard of that book?
I'll have to look that one.
Yeah, it's a really great book actually. Especially for business owners, but it applies to life too, but it's really like focused on in your business how to 10x.
Mhm.
And that's what it talks about. That 80%, you got to get rid of it, right? Like it is holding you back from growing your business. And, a lot of times that's as business owners or solopreneurs especially, like you focus on the 80% because you have to run the business instead of you work in it instead of on it. It's a really great book. I'd recommend it.
Okay.
But sales is something that like a lot of us who start a business, like IT folks, process improvement folks, leadership coaches, myself, I'm more operationally, like my background's mostly operations, logistics, process improvement. My background was not sales, right? Like, but now I find myself having to wear all the hats. How do
Mm.
you juggle wearing all the hats when that's not your expertise?
Well, the short answer is not very well. I've been very blessed that literally every single one of my clients has been a referral in some
Oh, wow.
way, shape, or form.
That's amazing.
And that's really cool because it kind of speaks to the quality of the work that I do and the strength of the relationships that I've built over my career.
Yeah.
On the other hand, is you can only leverage your network for so often or
Yeah.
so much. And so that's kind of why I'm the focus on this year's growth.
Yeah. That's amazing, first of all. I don't think many people can say that your percent of their business is referral based. That's really amazing. So kudos to you. I think that does say a lot about um what you bring to your clients. Can you dive into that a little bit more? Like what kind of solutions are you bringing your clients? I know you mentioned IT and AWS, but what are some of the pain points you're solving for them?
Yeah, so it's a wide range, mostly revolving around AWS or Amazon Web Services. With I have had at least one client that was dealing with Google Cloud. In fact, I
Okay.
think I'm about ready to start back with them again, doing a cross cloud network project. But that's a whole nother story. It's mostly revolving around Amazon Web Services. It's anything from setting up their Amazon organization, managing all the different accounts that go into the Amazon organization, make sure it's secure, set up correctly, have the right guardrails, have the right,
Yeah.
single sign-on set up, all the way to mass migrations of applications from either another cloud or from on-premise
Yeah.
to custom software development and coaching. So it's a pretty wide range depending on what the customer needs.
Interesting. I won't pretend I know too much about AWS. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I've never my where I came from prior to this, that wasn't the platform that we used, so I'm not like super familiar with it. But that's yeah, I mean that sounds amazing. Are your clients usually like enterprise level or are they more like us, right? Small, medium sized businesses.
Again, that's another wide range. I have one client right
Cool.
now that is super duper tiny, and I've worked with clients that are Fortune 500, and I've worked with clients in the middle.
Love it. It's good to have a broad ICP and niche like that. It makes it a little bit easier as you're growing to be able to find those next opportunities. So sweet. Well, I mean, as like we'll start to wrap up here shortly, but what advice do you have for other either new business owners or someone who's thinking of making that jump, right? Like maybe they're still in their corporate role today and they're like, they've got the LLC, right? Like they've got the idea, but they just haven't made that leap yet.
Well, so I was kind of forced into it, so I'm not going to tell anybody that they should go quit their job and head into this full time. But
Yeah.
I have a buddy who I collaborate with very often who started while he was still in corporate, and it it definitely you have to make a commitment and just do it.
Yeah.
You have to have that conversation with your spouse if you have one, and just put your head down and hopefully you've already got something lined up that can kind of slingshot you and
Hmm.
um
First win.
mhm.
I do find that until you have you heard the phrase like burn the ships?
Mhm.
Until you kind of burn the ships and you're all in, it's you're not going to really put yourself in the mindset, in my opinion, you're not going to put yourself
Oh,
in that
sure.
mindset to like really be hungry for it, right? Like when you have your six-figure salary backing you from corporate America, that's a cushion that's, it's gonna keep you feeling safe and stop you from going all in. So eventually, yeah, if that's your dream, eventually you gotta rip the Band-Aid and go for it.
Oh yeah.
Obviously when it makes sense for your family and whatnot. But I'm really big on I don't want to ever look back and be like, what if, right? Like, oh, wish I did that.
Right.
What if, I'm more of a risk taker, I would say. I mean, I think like by nature being a Marine, that's you don't go to the Marine Corps if you're not a risk taker. So I think, by nature, I've always been okay with the level of risk, but you have to calculate it and you have to make sure that it's smart risk. So you mentioned your buddy, and I guess we can end on this note, but I'm also really big on collaboration. I think especially a lot of us work remote now, right? So
Mhm.
we're in our homes. Yes, we're around our families, but we're not around a lot of other business professionals day to day, depending on what you're doing, obviously, with the exception of this, right? Like over video. I think it's extremely important to still collaborate with not just people but like outside of your bubble, and that's where you're really gonna like your eyes will be opened to new opportunities you might not have ever even thought of by doing that. And I'm a big fan of like mentorship and making sure that you have those mentors to help to call you out if you're not we get tunnel vision sometimes, right? And it's
Mhm.
it's good to have somebody to kind of sanity check you from time to time, especially when you are on your own and you're not in that corporate environment where it naturally happens. I think it's really important. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Have you ever been in like cohorts or masterminds or anything like that?
I wouldn't say formally.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned having a mentor. There's a different buddy who I also worked with in a different corporate life, who's kind of been my business mentor on getting stuff. He's like, you don't want to just do a straight LLC. You want to, do an S corp because that's going to set you up nicely tax wise, or you don't want to spend your time, getting leads this way. You might want to try to tweak it and go that way,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. It helps, right? Because we
Mhm.
can't think of everything ourselves. Definitely. All right, Kevin. Well, I love just hearing from another entrepreneur and your journey and just being real. Like, thanks for being real about like the challenges and what you're working on. And I think it just helps other people who are listening recognize like, okay, I'm not alone in that. I am wearing all the hats still. I'm still trying to figure out how to scale my business from solo to a team that is, what is it? No more than two extra large pizzas. Any final like words of wisdom or anything you want to share before we end it?
I guess if you can pull the ripcord because it's worth it.
Yeah, I love that. And if people want to learn more about you or how they can find out more about your services, where can they find you?
You can take a look at my website, polyfortech.com. There's it's got all stuff about me, stuff about the industries I've worked with, the kind of services I offer, and there's even a spot where you can either email me directly or schedule a discovery call.
Sweet. All right, Kevin. Thanks so much. I appreciate it, and best of luck as you keep growing. And congrats again on the repeat business coming back. That's always awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.